Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Doc of Detox show. Today's show is energy fields and physical blocks, and it's a live Q&A, so we want to hear from you. All right, they're going to be texting over any type of questions that you have from Instagram, Facebook, Intercom, YouTube, and we've got lots of questions. We've got about 14 questions that people sent in. So I'm here with my dear friend, Peter Webb. We did our show yesterday, and today we're going to answer all your questions. But first, I'm very excited to announce the upcoming shows for this week, and I was waiting for this one. On Wednesday, which is tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have the show Vaccinations Wake the Beep Up with a very special guest, Darrell Bigtree. Now, Darrell Bigtree, he is the director of Vax, but guess what? He is also the most powerful advocate, okay, against vaccinations. And he's stating that they have no scientific proof that vaccinations actually work and that they've been studied properly. So we want to hear from you, okay? The only thing I would say tomorrow for this show is watch the show, come to your own conclusions, and then we're going to be doing a Q&A on Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And look at everyone. Out there in the world of vaccinations, we've got people who are for them and against them. Let's not get anybody coming on the show that's nasty, okay? All right? This is not the end of the world, and everybody's got their opinion. So let's just have a show where we talk about those opinions and we actually take a look at hard science and see what's really going on. And I'm going to tell you something, whether you want to believe this or not, everybody, Darrell Bigtree has a pulse on what's going on with vaccinations, what they've got planned for us around the world. And him and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Have been right up to Washington, and they're trying to stop bills. They're trying to get them to stop passing laws, and they're trying to pass new laws to protect you. And I guess if you're into vaccinations, you may think that they're not protecting you, but you still want to watch this show. Okay, I think becoming an informed human being is the best thing you can do to protect you and your family. All right. So we will be joined by Darrell Bigtree tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is Wednesday, for the regular show. And then on Friday, we want your questions. Bring them in. Okay. And on Monday, I'm moving my usual Friday Q&A to Monday. So Doc Talk Q&A will be 3 p.m. on Monday. All right. And on Wednesday, January the 15th, we have a show called The 12 Keys to a Healthier Cancer Patient. And that's with the world-renowned Dr. Patrick Quillen. And we're going to be talking about this, The 12 Keys, because this is his new best-selling book that he just got up on Amazon. All right? So now I want to introduce Peter Webb. Peter is an expert in radionics and all things natural. He was given the gift of understanding nature, and today he is here to share and answer all your questions. So welcome to the show, Peter.
Good evening.
How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm pretty good.
Yeah?
As good as I can be, let's put it that way.
Well, then I think that that's pretty dang good, okay? So let's start off with our questions. And everybody, just so you know, I've got my phone here, so if any questions do come in, I will get them, and we will answer you promptly. So live questions that come in, we answer them right away, well, as quickly as we can get to them. All right? So my first question here is Sally from YouTube, Peter. She asks, Peter, please explain in detail about the Bodyguard and the Protector and the Revitalizer. I'm a little confused. I watched the show, and there was a lot of information, so if you could just walk through them one at a time and so that I understand what it is they do so I can make an educated decision. There you go.
Okay, well, we'll start off with the Revitalizer. It's primarily an agricultural device. It's you place it on a farm, and it can cover anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 acres. It harvests the greenhouse gases, change them into carbon, and put them back into the soil. It's using the Earth's magnetic grid to power it, so it can draw in all the elements like oxygen and hydrogen sulfide and methane, all these greenhouse gases, And by taking the electrical charge, each one has electrical charge. By taking them off, it powers the unit itself. So it's self-powered, and there's no moving parts. And it puts the oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and all the other elements 30 feet into the soil, and it builds up carbon. It's putting in approximately 20 to 30 tons of carbon per acre, depending on the area being covered by the box. So
Okay, Peter. Peter,
yeah,
can I ask two questions? Are you talking about it works 30 feet down into the soil?
yes, it does.
And the other
But
thing, well, I'm just going to give you two things so you can answer them. That one, and also, why am I interested in putting carbon back? Please.
carbon is a building block of all life on the planet.
Okay.
Nothing can survive without it. And the trouble with modern agriculture is we're depleting the carbon in the soil. So we have to rebuild. And this is why when you deplete the carbon, then you get weeds, you get pests, and all kinds of health problems with the plants. So this way, we're adding the carbon. It's in a brown liquid, the first stage of carbon. The next one would be maple sugar or brown sugar, and then it goes all the way up to coal and oil and coal, and then finally at the diamond. But the the bacteria in the soil needs carbon, and the plants are basically made up of a lot of carbon. Our human body is a major part of it. The bones and the skeleton is built on carbon and minerals. So that would be, and of course, we're also bringing back the natural environment, like with you putting in plasma, which is created from lightning, positive and negative, and so the plasma really helps the immune system of the plant, so that you don't have the insect damage. But the overall benefit is with the higher carbon in the soil, your plant nutrient density is quite a bit higher, is actually remarkably higher. So you've got more nutrients in the food, it stores better, and of course, anything that consume it, whether it's a person or an animal, they benefit from the added minerals and carbon in that. So now we'll go on to the
Well, wait one second, Peter. We got a
yeah.
question in from something that you said. We just got a question in from Intercom. Somebody's watching the show. Jim says, you just said that the Revitalizer does not have any electrical. So where is it getting its power from? So is it from lightning? Is it lightning that
No.
goes into the? No, where's the how? Because understand, everyone, this device will last for years, and it doesn't have a battery, and you don't plug it in. So can you explain that, please, Peter?
Yeah, well, such elements as oxygen have an electrical charge. Actually, all of those greenhouse gases have electrical charge. And by stripping the electrical charge off the oxygen, for argument's sake, normally it can only be put into the soil in the top 10 to 12 inches and maybe 10 feet in water. But by taking the electrical charge off, it can be put much deeper into the soil, and it stays where you put it. So if you put it at the bottom of a lake, it stays there to feed the microorganisms that are breaking down the sludge in the lake.
Did you say did you say you could put the vitalizer at the bottom of a lake?
No. The oxygen goes to the bottom.
Oh,
of
the
lake.
oxygen goes to the bottom of the lake. Got it.
And it stays in that position until the bacteria consume it.
Okay.
And fish will live on it too. So within the soil, we can get this oxygen deeper. It would say down to 30 feet is what so you're allowing your bacteria, your fungi, your earthworms, all these creatures that keep the soil healthy can go to a deeper depth than this in an extremely dry climate. Then your plants the roots, alfalfa and some of the plants will go down 30 feet anyway. So it's just enhancing the soil at a depth where moisture is, and microorganisms, and so the plant is working off. It's able to convert these elements um, into vitamins and minerals. You got the CO2 be put into the plants as carbon, as sugar, sorry, and photosynthesis. Yeah, we've got a bunch of emails coming in here. That's a problem. Anyway, so that's a benefit of it, and it, of course, by putting these oxygen in the soil, it makes the soil lighter and fluffier. So the tillage work is reduced. The cost of fuel is reduced.
Yeah, so you're saying when they go to plow, they don't have to have a bigger engine, burn
No,
more gas, and run
no,
the tractor into the ground.
no, that's correct. Yeah,
I
yeah.
got another question here, and the question is about the revitalizer. They okay, so this is the same person, and he wants to know what were you talking about? It creating a liquid.
Well, the the greenhouse gases are created into a brown viscous liquid that goes in the soil. That's the first stage of carbon going into the soil. That's what I was referring to. And if you move your fingers through the soil, you'll have like a brown stain on your fingers from this available carbon that we're putting. It, like I said, it's the first stage of turning it into sugars or whatever, sugar or oil or whatever we're doing.
Right.
But the soil, the soil life totally depend on it for their health and the health of the plants.
All right. So I've got another question here from Paula. Hi, Paula. Paula from Facebook. How is the carbon depleted in soil? We are on sandy ground in Florida, and it is very hard to grow many things. Can't worms put carbon and minerals back into soil?
Well, basically, the modern fertilizer, the ammonium nitrate or nitrogen, it actually burns carbon in the soil. It burns the organic matter and releases CO2, and that's why the plants. That's why actually the soil today is giving off CO2 instead of pulling it in and holding it in the soil. Um, so, but yeah, when you lose your organic matter, um, if we lost, yeah, I just lost a picture for a moment. Um, yeah, your soil becomes it doesn't hold moisture. You've got to have organic matter and carbon to retain the moisture in the soil. And without that, all the rain just goes through like it's in a filter. It just drains down through into the aquifers below. And that's a problem with modern fertilizer, is that the rain will carry it down into the aquifer or into the rivers. But no, it's in Florida, they would have to start by, building the carbon in the soil, and it does happen real quick. And
How quick? How quick, Peter?
well, we're looking at basically 20 tons an acre per month into the soil. It isn't a lot when you start at the point, but over a year it builds up, and then year after year it continues to build up. So um, we're getting tremendous results on the farms that we have the revitalizer on, with the quality of the forages and everything else. Even one advantage, the revitalizer, if you've got livestock and you have a manure lagoon, the oxygen in that lagoon breaks that manure down from an anaerobic state to an aerobic, where it's available to the plant. If you use anaerobic manure on the soil, the bacteria have to take the whole year to break that down into a form that can be used by plants. Whereas if you can get the oxygen into the manure, then it's already ready to be assimilated by plants. And what we do in Canada is, rather than try to get the manure on as soon as the um, soil starts drying up, the farmers plant their crops. And when they take the first cuts of hay off, then they put the manure on, because at that point the soil is drier. The manure doesn't burn the plants because it's already composted. And they immediately are able to assimilate that manure as it go on. So there are many benefits of using the revitalizer on agriculture. We had a long conversation with people in California today, and on the same subject. So when you get soil building up, then you don't have the pressure from insects like your um, aphid thrips, spider mites, potato bugs, I guess maybe even crickets and that kind of thing that feed on crops. So the plant builds its own immune system to protect itself from
Right.
invasion of insects.
Good. I've got a question just came in from Peter, not you, but another Peter, and he says, "I'm a pig farmer and I grow crops, but my first question is Peter just mentioned that it what how does the bacteria go from anaerobic to aerobic? And everybody, just so you know, that means aerobic meaning oxygen. And that means the bacteria. I think if I'm right, Peter, somehow the bacteria they transform into healthier bacteria. Is that correct? Or what goes
Yes,
on here?
well, they have bacteria pretty smart. If they're in the top foot of soil, they're aerobic, and they're doing the aerobic of breaking down nutrients or waste. But if they go down into the subsoil, they become anaerobic, which are fermenters. It's if you want to make pickles, that's the place to do it. But there's no good for growing plants. So
Right.
so if you with you if you have it doesn't matter whether it's a lake, a manure lagoon, or a sewage lagoon. As soon as you put high levels of oxygen, we're talking 20 parts per million, into the bottom of that pond, your anaerobics will immediately start transforming into aerobics and start breaking down all the solids.
Right.
And when they do that, they're also, you see the smell, the hydrogen sulfide ammonia, it's all stemming from undigested food in the animal. So it's down there, so it has to go into an aerobic state to be digested by the bacteria to eliminate the odor. Well, it doesn't totally, but there's no smell really to it. We have actually in South Korea, the pig farmers, well, we use a water unit as well that we make. It's a stainless steel one. Their mortality dropped 90%. Their days to market dropped between 10 and 20 days. I got the testimonial from them, and there was virtually no smell in the barn or in the manure. So getting this oxygen into the digestive system of animals is a major jump, because instead of them producing a manure that's anaerobic, which is, the hydrogen sulfide is like the rotten egg smell, and ammonia, they all have odors, and none of them are really pleasant. So if we can limit, and you got to think about the people working in those facilities too. They're breathing this air in, the dust, so it helps the animals, helps the employees, and at the end of the day, the bottom line is help too. So that's the way we look at it.
Very good, Peter. So Peter had a second part to this, and he just said, and you answered it probably because you just said about the pig farmer in Asia.
South Korea.
So, anyways, but we don't need to answer that part because you answered that. But he says, yeah. What difference would I see if I put a revitalizer on my farm for my pigs and for the crops I grow?
Well, immediately the crops would respond. You're looking at a much heavier, depending on if they're growing corn or soybeans. The bushel weight is significantly higher, and of course, when you have a rainy climate, you may be getting some fusarium or pink mold or uh, penicillin molds, aflatoxins, vomitoxins on the head of the corn, which are definitely not conducive to raising pigs. With a higher nutrient value and the oxygen in that environment, we've seen very little of it. The corn that we have on our farms that have been growing corn for quite a while, they had very little, if any, molds or fungus or aflatoxins in the grain. So you're going to have a healthier grain, upwards to 40% better yield, and I would say that would take within the second year, because depending on the time you get it, the longer the carbon is being sequestered into the soil, the healthier it gets. Then your yields and will respond favorably to that. So we have a farmer that does it. He has 1,000 acres of cash crops, mostly green peas and fall wheat and cucumbers and peppers and different crops, tobacco, and his side by side with the Revitalizer, he got 40 bushels an acre more on his wheat. His cucumbers were yielding about, they were going over 20 ton an acre, I think he said. But anyway, the yield was very high on all of them. So our farmers down in Eastern Ontario, where they have corn that's, 22, 23 kernels around the bottom of the cob. So they're much bit larger cobs. So there is a payback, and it doesn't take long. And we can give him testimonials if he needs them from the farmers that we have.
Absolutely. Well, I've got one more question from him, and he just says, how big is the Vitalizer? And you say it doesn't run off electricals, so where do you put it? Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, we like to put it as close to the homestead as we can get it, because it's a marine, a military-based case from Pelican, but we don't want it being driven over by tractors and equipment. So some farmers put it in a flower bed. The ideal place is close to the well, so that the oxygen is concentrated right away on the water and in the well, and then it radiates out. What we do when you receive the box, you find a location that's where it's not going to be in the way and not be a problem, and then you take a picture of that and send it to me, and then with the acreage to be covered with you could even take all this with a cell phone, just a picture of the spot, and maybe one or two spots on the farm. Then I can, if I know the acreage, then I can adjust it from here. And once it's in and running, and there's nothing else to do.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, Peter, can you talk about the protector? Everyone, this is what a protector's called, what it looks like. They come in purple, and they come in like an aqua green blue color. They're crystals.
The protector is, we used to, 40 years ago, make electromagnetic balancers that we shipped a lot of them into Europe. And after we started producing the protector, we eliminated the need for those balancers, because we've got to understand that they were focused on the geomagnetic lines that run through the earth, that runs through people's homes. They attach to the ductwork, the water lines, electrical. So they're running, crisscrossing all through the home. So putting all that technology into a crystal makes it so much more powerful. And you can put it right in the middle of the home on a bookcase, because it's a thing really nice to look at. You don't need it. You don't want to take it into the bedrooms, because it's too powerful for that. But it'll put a shield around the home of 200 feet, yeah, 200 feet in each direction, and then it's 200 feet up and 200 feet down. And it raises the oxygen in the home. And we've got some homes that are running like 25 parts per million now in the home. Now that rids the house of black mold and that kind of thing. But even, you know, the oxygen, if you got pets in the house, the water stays clean. The water in your taps are oxygenated. And of course, we've been working on this. We've got a number of things in it, like biophotons, hydrogen, uh, helium, and biophotons. Then we're also putting in the sun and the moon and the star energy. So it's giving you an environment that you're really comfortable in. And then, of course, we get into the pendant, the Bodyguard.
Let me show them, will you, Peter? This is the pendants, everybody. I'll put it right here. So you can see they come in kind of an aqua green, and they come in a purple, and then they come in like a pink cinnamon color, and then they come in a royal blue. Okay.
Yeah. They are for your personal body. They're the same as the program is the same as a protector, but it's on a smaller version. So it does 15 feet all around your body, over your head, and into the ground. And what we've done with all of those is that we've created a frequency of grounding. It's very basic. We take a Polaroid picture of an oak tree and a horse chestnut tree, and we use them as the grounding, and then those pictures are put into the radionics where they capture that energy. And so what it's doing is grounding a lot of the static that's in your body away from your body. And this allows the body to normalize, because we've just gone through this work with dairy cows, and the ground current, or the DC current going back from the meter back to the substation, it floats above the ground, and the same thing's in the home. It's in the soil, but it's also in the air. So it gets into your body, and of course, frequencies going into your body can actually, over time, start changing your DNA and other things in your body. So this is another means of protecting you as you going out in your car, the supermarket, or wherever you go. It's giving you that it's a personal protection. Somebody asked me the other day if people standing beside you would be affected while you would be in that energy, because everything is energy. We got to remember that. So you're in that energy, but after you leave it, you're not protected, but the person wearing the pendant is always protected, and is having a lot of really nice beneficial effects on people. Their skin gets better, I would say even your breathing gets better. So your digestive system and your colon, everything starts functioning normally, which is important. If you're serious about keeping your health, because believe me, if you lose your health, you've got a lot of headwinds ahead of you, as you can recognize.
Yeah, so, and if I can state this, Peter, everybody, I want you to understand something. I know that this might be new to people, and it's like, wow, what is this? What is this next thing they're going to dream up? Well, the reality is that if curiosity is on the menu today and you decide to try these, just know that we have a money-back guarantee that you are going to feel a difference, peace, calmness, digesting better. And you know what? You'd be surprised how many people are saying their skin looks better, okay, with this on. And I got to tell you, yeah, I can attest to that one, Peter. I've got a question, if it's okay, Peter. Is that okay, or would you like to say something?
Yeah. No, carry on.
Okay. Jackie from Facebook, I bought the protector for myself and my 9-year-old daughter who has asthma. I know you just kind of answered it, but I want to show people are on the ball with this, okay? Do you believe this could help her with her asthma? Okay?
Yeah, I would absolutely say so, because if you take the average oxygen in a home, it's not very high. It's in the 8 to 10 parts per million range. But as soon as you have the protector or the Bodyguard, then it's bounced up to 20. Sometimes you get 25 parts per million. So that extra oxygen, it has a healing effect as well. If you and of course, right now, we're not sure about. We've been trying to remove the inflammation. I'm using some frequencies that were developed by Kelly Instruments, and right now, I think the inflammation is a harder thing to deal with than most, but it seems to be having a positive effect on draining some of this inflammation out of the body. And so, no, if somebody has asthma, this would be a good thing for them, no
And
question.
and if I can say something, and you know what, Peter? I mean, it just shows up everywhere, doesn't it? Inflammation. We're an inflammation nation. I say it all the time. We're being bombarded by frequencies, negative frequencies, by chemicals like glyphosate and sugars and everything, and just the henny penny, the sky's falling in from stress. So inflammation is at the root cause of all illness. So if you can bring down inflammation, then you're going to start taking the brunt of the work off the immune system. Jumana from Facebook, I wanted to know if it's okay to shower or swim with the pendant on, with the Bodyguard.
There isn't a problem with it, because we've had them go through customs at the airports, and they put the protector through the radar twice to see what it was. They didn't know what it was, but it didn't affect it at all. No, the water is not going to be a problem, but it just.
Well, if X-rays aren't going to bother it, water's not going to bother it. So.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Paula from Facebook, we have serious mold issues in the homes here in Florida. Would the protector help? I know you talked about it, but she's saying serious. So if she's got mold in her house and it's serious, how long would it take for something like the protector and the Bodyguard to work together and kick in to actually start seeing some changes?
It would take. It would start pretty much right away, but when you start killing mold, it takes a lot of oxygen. There are two things. There is another product that is hydrogen peroxide. It's another form of oxygen. It will, if you wanted to spray it on and wipe it off, or that will be the first stage. But certainly, where we've dealt with these buildings, we did just finish one in a marijuana grow up in Quebec, and we took all of the mold, the mold off, the white mildew and mold off the plants, and rejuvenated the plants. So, but that take about 3 days. So I would think in a really damp house, it would take maybe up to even a month. We have no barometer on how quick it would work in that environment, but I know I've been to Florida, and I know how humid it is down there at different times. So, and then I also know how dangerous these molds are in a home. They're really bad for your lungs and other parts of your body. So
Lungs and brain.
Lungs and brain. So it really, if you're wanting to invest in a protector and use it, I see no reason why you shouldn't. And if there's a money back guarantee, then I think I'd even stand by that. So,
Yeah, just know this,
um,
everyone. We have a 90-day, and we'll even go further with that, I'm sure, in certain cases. But 90
yeah,
days, and that's from the time it's delivered to your house. We want to make sure, and that doesn't count the time to deliver it back to us. This is not a game. If somebody doesn't like something, I want it back. I don't want you to put your money out. Okay? All right. So, Wendy from Facebook, does the Bodyguard protect you from EMFs?
yes, it does. And I think we were looking at um, testimonials on your website that there were people that said that there's a lot of people saying that they got a great benefit from the protector with Wi-Fi and EMFs. Um, we we have a big Wi-Fi here we bought in for to do these shows, and I did an experiment. We went to bed. We turned it off at night, and we never slept any better than when we did with it on. So obviously, we're blocking those frequencies when we're sleeping. Um, so it does definitely work on the EMFs as far as being around all these electronics, and we are slowly becoming immersed in this electromagnetic smog. It's you take the big power lines, the energy field, the EMF field coming off them can be several hundred feet away from the wires, and it's always going to the north because the magnetic north draws them to the north side of the wires. So um, yeah, these EMFs are basically everywhere in our environment. It doesn't matter. If you're on the road and you're driving on the power lines, you're being um, in that same environment. Uh, there was a time when before we got to this point, we'd park a car and you go and touch it and you get an electric shock off it. Well, that don't happen anymore. Um, we've advanced far enough that the static within a vehicle is being taken out
Beautiful.
when you're wearing it. Yeah.
Janet from Facebook, I gave my mother a Bodyguard and protector for Christmas. Her blood pressure has normalized and she is sleeping through the night. Please explain why this is happening.
Again, it's normalizing the biological effect of your body, and when you go to bed and you calm down, your body produces, I guess, melatonin, and that puts you into sleep. Uh, we know for a fact that any electronics in the room, like a digital clock or a radio or TV, can um, be a hindrance to getting a good night's sleep. But no, the blood pressure, I was on blood pressure pills also. Now I don't, I'm cutting them down to half the size, but my blood pressure is very low. I mean, well, it's normal. I mean, it's 100 over 67 or 68. And so, yeah, it does. I'm not going to guarantee everybody's blood pressure drop, but certainly mine did. And other people we know it has. But it's also when you're balancing your body, you're doing um, the hormonal production. Your brain, I guess, is releasing these enzyme, or not necessarily enzyme, anything that um,
Chemicals and hormones.
chemicals. Yeah, it releases these even to the point of the acids into your digestive system. It controls those in a way that you're not too acidic and not too alkaline. So there's a lot of, well, we've got 40 years of experimentation and developing on these system, and it has been a lifetime passion for me to come up with solutions in the environment, because if we don't, um, our environment is already under stress now, and it's not going to get any better unless we start working to help it.
You know what? I want everybody to know that every once in a while something comes along and it's unique and it's different, and it makes me go, wow, there's an aha moment. And when I discovered Peter, that was an aha moment. And I'll tell you something, we have hundreds and hundreds of people that are having aha moments with these. And I don't expect anyone to really believe it because most people don't believe anything new. Okay, people are very skeptical today, and I can understand that. Jim from Instagram, I do not. Here we go. There you go. Gotta love this one. Okay, Jim from Instagram, I do not believe you can put frequencies into crystals. This is not science. Ooh, there you go. Peter, this is science, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Because if anybody's heard of a resonant frequency, that's what we put in. The crystal, actually, it's interesting. Going back in time, we use crystals in watches. We use crystals in radios for power. And you got it. And again, we come back. We have to have electricity in our bodies, or we're going to be not gone. But and as I demonstrated last night, you can check this yourself with a simple multimeter. You just turn it on the DC volts to millivolts, 200 millivolts, and then you hold the probes, the red one in your right hand, the black one in your left hand, and it'll give you an instant reading of the electrical charge in your body, if you don't believe it. And if I'm outside and I walk into the office and I check myself, I'll be running 150 millivolts in my body. But as soon as I am around what I'm sitting around now, TV, screen, Wi-Fi, and it'll start going down, but it doesn't go below 20 millivolts. But this is the key to the health of the human body. But no, we used to get quartz crystal, and we programmed it with radionics, positive and negative, and we'd put it on the fields, and it did amazing things. So yeah, we have actually on our old balancer systems that have been out 40 years, they're still holding the frequencies that we put in them for that long. So yeah, we're using pure quartz from Germany. It's the best quality quartz class that we can find. Now, if you were looking at stuff out from China, it would be so high in lead that it wouldn't be safe to use anyway. But glass is glass. There are different qualities of it, and the ones we've got are very expensive to buy, and they're not easy to make. But the fact is that we know these are imprinted permanently with the frequencies into the crystals.
Well, I guess that'll make a really good next question. John from Facebook asks, can 5G deplete the crystal ability to shield?
No, it can't. What we've done with the protector and the Bodyguard is we've put a shield, and this is done through radionics. We scan the frequencies to make a shield, and then we put them into the system. And then we just recently put in a shield to protect us from the radiation from the sun. And I touched on this, but just for the sun is in an elliptic circle around the Earth. And this year, it's going to be the closest to the Earth for a long time. So there'll be a lot more radiation from the sun. But with this tech, we're able to protect. But the 5G, we've already got people in South Dakota that are in that 5G, the whole Sioux Falls, South Dakota is all 5G, and it's certainly creating a bit of a problem with the people because they're not feeling as well as they used to. And as I said last night, the British ambulance, they built an autonomous ambulance run strictly by 5G, and in the first 3 paramedics that rode in that ambulance, I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 weeks, they all had heart attacks and died. So
Oh my God!
yeah,
Now tell me that this is not a weapon of destruction. So
well, it was, yeah.
you can call me a drama queen, Peter a drama queen, but you know what? Wait till you see the statistics when they release the 5G. And I got to tell you, nobody likes to talk about this, but their real motives, that would scare even you more.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Peter.
Well, 5G was developed as a weapon to control, by the military to control crowds. It heats the body up, and I'm not sure if they have different amperages that they put on it, but nevertheless.
Well, let's just put it this way: they're releasing enough
Yes.
of it that they'll be making
Yeah.
bacon, right?
You see, you got to understand that our body has a resonant frequency, and if you're sitting on a lawn out in the wilderness somewhere, but once you start getting the waves coming in from the different wireless, like the cell phones and radar, and actually an interesting thing about that, they got the biggest radar system in Nova Scotia to get the aircraft over the Atlantic Ocean, and no, the Maritimes have the highest level of arthritis of any province in Canada.
They also have also one of the highest rates of cancer. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So, you can. I'll stand by that. What we say, that the G5 is not going to be. It'll take the harmful effects off it. You'll probably still be able to use your computer, but there won't be these harmful waves that are on it that will cause health problems. And we can measure. I'll go back to the cow thing. We did a test on dairy cows about 6 weeks ago, and we did a general vitality, which is what we use on radionics. And the cows were 1,500, and when I checked their hearts, they were at 600. And of course, the bacteria in the gut was only at 20%. After we put the protector on top of the robot, those cows almost instantly went to 6,000 GV. The hearts went to 6,000 GV, and the bacteria in the gut started going upwards. So, and I talked to a farmer this morning, and the next day we did that. This is one in Wisconsin. His cows went up 2.5 pounds of milk the next day. That's money in the bank.
Yeah, it is. And everybody understands something. When Peter's talking about the robot, he's talking about the robot that is connected to all these cows, because the whole dairy farm is run by robots. Okay?
Yeah.
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 I've got Joyce from Facebook. What books would you suggest to learn more on radionics?
There is 2 very good books. The Secret Life of Plants by Christopher Bird, and Secrets of the Soil by Christopher Bird.
There you go.
So, and then of course, if you want to get into detail, you can go to Kelly Instruments that build the radionics. They have manuals on the radionics and how they work, and you can have them sent in an email, and I know I have many of these books from Galen Hieronymus, who built the first ones, and Don Mattiota that built some, and then we got other companies. They all have manuals that we have, and that's why in my office I've got over 7,000 frequencies from these different companies on radionics of what they can be used for. And believe me, they can be used not only for healing, but they're able to help with emotions, because all an emotion really is a frequency. So I think if you asked anybody that wore the pendant or the protector, they would say they were emotionally more positive than they've ever been, and that's the way I feel today. Um, we get slapped down once in a while, but uh, we keep, we keep the focus on what we're doing, and you know, uh, I've done a lot of one of the things that I was able to do with radionics was the cell has a positive side and a negative side, and in the middle there is a 0 point where you've got nutrients going in and then waste coming out, and we were able to create that figure eight energy using radionics. You just couple up a couple of machines and create that signature, and then you can use it in everything you do. So yeah, it's. Um, but I would start off. You could even. There is a USP, I think it's a United States Cytronics Association. They're strictly all radionics, and they have conference, and you could get immense amount of information from them. The United States Cytronics Association.
Beautiful. I've got Lucy. Hi, Lucy. Lucy from Intercom. Peter, can you please explain slowly and clearly what radionics is and how old it is, how old the science is, and what other applications, also in what other applications is it used?
It I think it originated in Great Britain in the late 1800s. I have one machine that is at least over 100 years old from Great Britain. I don't use it. To me, it's an antique, but it's so beautifully made in leather and all stainless steel. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. But Galen Hieronymus was the main person that started them in the United States, and he sold it to agriculture, but he also um, did a lot of human. He had two manuals, one for agriculture and one for humans, and he uh, he set the standard for radionics. It has tuners on it. These are just like radio tuners, and you can tune them to different wavelengths. And the way they work is they have a stick pad on them, and you have a dial that you can turn for the general vitality, and you rub the rub plate until your hands is called a galvanomic stick. Your fingers literally stick to the plate. You can't move them, and that's when you've got the exact frequency of what you're trying to get. So if the numbers are not in the manual, then you can, what do we call cold scan. You can put a witness. It could be somebody's hair or a fingernail in the well on the machine, and then you can tune it to find heavy metals or anything in your body. So everything on this earth, and Einstein said that everything has a frequency and it's energy, and that's all there is. And really, that's exactly what it is. Once you look at the waves on everything has a wavelength on it, and some of them even have a polarity, like your electricity and that kind of thing. All have a clockwise polarity, which throws your body out of balance because you still haven't got that counterclockwise balance to help to utilize vitamins and minerals that are going into your body, because half are positive and half negative, and you have to be able to utilize them all, because if you were using vitamin E without selenium, you don't get any effect. They partner together, vitamin and mineral, and that's when they become very potent. So I hope that somewhat covers it. But these tuners, you can set them at any place, and you get this stick, and then now on that basis, if you were looking for a certain problem, like we'll say cancer, I don't like using it, but you get that frequency that's in phase. To get rid of that in the body, you have to reverse the numbers on the two dials to put it out of phase, and then that gets rid of the disease. That's how we attack disease in the body, by feeding out of phase frequencies at it.
Beautiful. I've got Tim from Facebook. What level of current is healthy? Do you understand what he's asking? Is that okay? I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. What level of current is healthy?
Well, if we're looking at AC, none of it is really healthy. But if we look at DC, DC is a natural current in the soil. It's in the atmosphere. It doesn't create heat. Where alternating current creates heat, DC current doesn't. So I'm not sure if there is anyone with the knowledge on the level of DC current in the human body. That should be. I have taken this tester, and I've checked trees and the soil, and depending on the species of tree, they've got different levels. But the whole thing is trees are picking up also this AC current and grounding it. They're doing a service for us. But I've been monitoring my DC current, and sometimes it gets almost up to 200 milliamps, but it has absolutely no ill effect on me. It's just because it's only it's energy, and it surrounds your body. You've got to bear in mind, when you get healthy body, then your immune system expand out, so it expands out around you. And how many people have walked into a room where somebody is there, and you just feel the negative energy on them? You just sort of stop and back off. You can feel negativity. So positive energy is something that you can't get enough of. But I wouldn't think you'd want to go over. Probably 150 millivolts would be the limit of where I'd go with the human body.
Very good. Brianna from Intercom, will the Pendant help with seasonal effectiveness disorder?
I'm not too. I know what. Are we talking about allergies?
No, we're talking about more about depression. Okay.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of sunlight, not a lot of vitamin D happening, not a lot of.
Yeah. Okay. I understand now. That's because we are putting in. What we use is when we get the summer solstice, the sun at high noon on the summer solstice, we use our Polaroid camera, and we take a picture of that sun, and we capture the signature coming off it. Then we put it into the radionics machine and put it back into the pendant and the protector. So it's going to have, I would say it's going to have an effect. I know, again, there are companies that make lights for this syndrome, and you can have to sit behind them for a while, but it's light. It's putting out the same frequency as what the sun would put out. But a frequency is a frequency, and if we're putting it into the pendant, which we are, it would be going into the body. And I've said this before, you don't stop taking your vitamin D just because you've got a pendant. You continue your normal regime on your vitamins and minerals. These will aid in the assimilation and digestion and the utilization of everything that goes into your body.
Now I've got one here that I just got before we started the show, and I apologize. I forget what your name is because I was just told in the office, and and I needed to ask Peter this. Peter, remember yesterday when you said we just put in additional frequencies into the Bodyguard and into the Protector, and
Right.
and the thing is Peter actually will put in the frequencies, and when he does it. Everybody gets that frequency. Everybody gets that new frequency, gets that new electrical technology that he does anywhere in the world they are. Doesn't matter where you are. Anyways, so this is actually a phone call that came in today, Peter. And she said when you said that she could actually felt a difference when you said that you changed that the other day and you gave the time. You said when you did it, and she said, yes, she felt a subtle difference in her body. Why did she feel a subtle difference and actually recognize something different? Well, I think that that's just somebody who's really sensitive to their frequencies in their environment. What do you think?
Well, it is. And, we have our machines are set up. They're all in chains, and they're running all the time. They use very little power. I mean, they're just I think 6 millivolts is what they pull. But nevertheless, when we when we came up with the frequencies to null and void the alternating current frequencies going back to the substations, we put that in, and that would be something people would feel. And then, of course, when we put in the final one, because I don't think I have to make any more changes. As far as I can gather, we are pretty much, when we put in the shield to protect from the radiation from the sun, they would have also felt that too. So, yeah, it's very subtle. But there are people that are super sensitive and very subjected to a lot of energies that are coming at them from, radar and all these things that are in the environment. I was with a woman one day, and we were driving through Western Ontario, and they'd sprayed all these fields with Roundup, and the crops were dead. And she said, every time I drive by this field, I have a sad feeling. I feel really sad. And I thought, boy, she's sensitive. And she was a very sensitive as far as energy go, because she worked with horses, and she could almost read their minds. She was just, she was a real horse person. So yeah, but no, we keep these things backed up all the time. If there was suddenly some other new frequency came onto the market that we could have to track down and create you see, when we track a wave coming off, let's see, G4, and we put in a second wave that's opposite to that, so it cancels it out. You just cancel one wave out with another one. That's how radionics work.
Beautiful.
It's been around. It's a very safe, if you're doing the right work with it, it's very safe. And what we do, we measure the general vitality of anything before we start, and then we apply this new frequency. Then we go back and check it, and if the vitality goes down, we pull it out. If it goes up, we leave it. That's how we progress down this road.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Maurice from YouTube, what precautions should I take living close to power lines? Well, for one thing, Maurice, don't live close to power lines. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, Peter will tell you. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, these power lines, you're really going to have to look at your environment. I've had so much experience with people getting sick, where the power comes off the pole into your house on the wall, and there's a box there where it comes in. Never put your head of your bed on that wall, because you're bound to get, I hate to say it, brain cancer. And I've seen so many people that have been in the, actually, even sleeping beside the electrical panel with your head of your bed near an electrical panel is not a good idea. So part of the protecting yourself is to make sure that your sleeping quarters are in the safest place, and to um, have furniture that's away from it too. So when you're in the house, you have to be aware of these frequencies. But yeah, the um, we call it the EMF field coming off power lines. We've followed it when we were out on the. I had an electrician with me one time in Western Ontario, and we checked the power line because there was a lot of transient voltage in that area, and those fields are always on the north side, so they went out about 700 or 800 feet into the field. We're using a Gauss meter to measure them as we went out into the field. So they have a lot of influence, and of course, in that range was a pig barn, and these pigs were always cannibalizing each other. They were so unhappy, and they were biting their tails and ears and everything else. So it has a negative effect on emotions at the same time. But like you say, you can shield yourself from a lot of it. That's all I really have to say about that. It's unfortunate. I went to one house. The lady moved out of the bush up in Quebec into Ottawa, right beside the big tower lines, and she had a German Shepherd. That dog was a pussycat till it had its kennel out in the backyard near those power lines, and it became so vicious it was biting anybody that went near it. So, you have to. I guess really you have to be careful where you purchase a house and make sure that none of these things are near it, because it's unavoidable.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay.
We got one more on. We got two more questions. Okay, one just came in, and it's Emily. Emily says, I bought 10 bodyguards and I bought 4 protectors for my children and grandchildren. We are monitoring how we feel about these, and we're enjoying it so far. I gave them for Christmas. Who do we call for questions? Well, you can call the office, but just understand something. Because we're selling hundreds of these things, people are really it's really starting to take off like big time. We're actually going to have Peter come on once a month, and we're going to do a Q&A. We may not necessarily do a show and then a Q&A, but we want to be here for people because it is a new technology it's new to people, but like he said, it's been around since 1800s. And we really want to be there to answer people's questions because anything new and anything interesting, and it's got to do with health, we figure we should be there for people. And Peter was so nice to say that we will do this show. So basically a month from today, we will be back. So anybody, you can collect your questions, or if they're really, something you really need to know, just call the office and I'll be there to answer. And if I can't answer it, I'll get Peter on and we'll do a 3-way call. Right, Peter?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got one more to go, unless somebody types in. Here we go. Jennifer from YouTube. I just wanted to say to Dr. Wolfe and Peter Webb, you are brave because you are introducing something to people that they do not understand. My question is, why do people embrace the idea that there are negative frequencies that cause disease, but they refuse to accept that there are positive frequencies that heal the body? As far as I'm concerned, thank you very much. That was an intelligent question, actually, Jennifer. And I'll tell you, because we're programmed, and we're programmed not to trust. And I think that we actually trust the wrong people. Here's Peter and I don't think we have any agenda, but people will trust a corporation or their government, and it's only because of programming. So the more you're programmed, the more you're programmed. And I guess we need to earn your trust, right, Peter? I don't know. What do you think, buddy?
Well, yeah, I've earned my trust. We started out the first revitalizers, I gave them to farmers. They said, "Are you willing to let me put this in and you tell me what happened?" Well, it wasn't long before they were seeing all these benefits showing up in their crops and their animals, and then they said, "Well, we'll give you a yearly fee just to have them here," and that's been our bread and butter in a way. We rent them at $5 an acre. It's just locally, because it's a local. I have an older gentleman that does it for me, and he needs some financial support, and he's a really nice guy. So we work, you know, we're wanting to help these people, and they appreciate it, and it's very rewarding to be able to do this. But yes, we had to tread lightly when we started, because we're not sure how it would be received. But now, with experience, we're quite happy with the results that we're getting. But I think these two items, the Protector and Bodyguard, are going to be the things that everybody need, because you can look after your individual self or your family, and certainly with a lot of the schools have Wi-Fi in the classrooms now, and if a child could wear the pendant in the classroom, he would be protected from the harmful effects of the Wi-Fi. I think that's all I can really expand on it. But yeah, no, it's anything new, you're going to have the naysayers. And then on the negative side of, I had a guy in here the other day. He was so convinced that G5 was going to be a major benefit to the economy and people and everything else. He had not heard of when they turned it on in, I think it was Switzerland. They turned the first Wi-Fi on, and all the birds fell out of the sky dead. The ducks in the ponds all dunked their heads in and drowned. Doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So, there was a program on the internet the other day of a woman that she was a gardening fanatic, and she was keeping bees, and then they started all dying off, and she now had became a body to inform people about the harmful side of G5 on the bees, the bats, and everything else. So
Beautiful.
yeah, okay.
So, Peter, what would you like to say to your fans and friends and and your spectators here?
Well, I think that everybody that has been with me on this adventure of learning a new way of working with the land and animals, and now we're doing humans, I think you're going to find that the rewards are going to be there. Everybody, the greatest thing, we only have one body, one health, and it's time we have to start looking at our own health and our family's health. It's not a big investment, but it's one that could change people's lives. Like I've had Nancy's sister had she was going to go on dialysis because she had a kidney problem, and after wearing the pendant for about 10 or 20 days, she's not anywhere. Her kidneys gained 12 points in that short time. So yeah, I think it's having a lot of benefits within the body. Like it's not like a silver bullet, but it's safe, it's subtle, and that's the word I use. It's subtle. It's not aggressive.
And they're beautiful. And they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful, Peter.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I think you've done a crackerjack job, my friend.
Okay.
And anyways, everybody, we'll be back here in 4 weeks, okay? Same channel, same place. We'll be back in 4 weeks. So we'll be answering questions for people on this, because I'm going to tell you something. This is going to get more and more important. this topic when people start seeing all the symptoms that they can't explain why they have them, where they're coming from, because the invisible, okay, can be deadly. And the invisible is creating the visible, which is the symptoms and the dis-ease that you're feeling in your body, on your nervous system, your brain, your tissues, the issues in your tissues, the inflammation. Look, all right, it's like this. Wear protection, all right? That's what I say. And everybody, look, when you're watching YouTube, it's the only place we do it, but when you're watching YouTube, don't forget, okay, that we timestamp all these questions. So any of you that weren't able to watch the show, you can go right to, it's timestamped on YouTube, so you can go right to your question and you can get your answer. Now, don't forget that tomorrow, Wednesday at 3 p.m., live, I'm going to have Del Bigtree, and it's what the beep is going on with vaccinations. And then we're going to do a Q&A on Friday, just like we did here with Peter, and that'll be at 3 o'clock, all right? And then, like I said, my Friday Q&A will be on Monday, all right? Instead, I've bumped it because Del Bigtree is a very busy person. He's renowned all over the world, and he flies all over the world. And just know this, that all you Americans, he's there, and he's battling Washington because he believes that vaccinations are not a good thing. So check it out tomorrow. And all I want to say is thank you for joining us. And remember something, 3, 2, 1, you got this. All right? And understand, keep your mind open. Okay? Let go of those things that are not serving you and let the new things come in that will. And God bless everyone. And thank you for joining us. And Peter, all right, it's always a delight, my friend.
Yeah.
And remember, everybody, this show is your show. So participate at any level you want. And do not be afraid to question authority. And do not be afraid to question me or anyone else that's on my show, because we work for you. God bless. If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.